The next one says, you're allowed to be happy, hurting and healing all at once. You're a human, not a rock. And this kind of speaks to this thing of, we can get a bit compartmentalized on the inside. And compartmentalization is the antithesis of the spiritual life or the life in consciousness, that's in my experience of it. As soon as you kind of go, I can only be one thing and not another thing, then you're going to run up against what's actually happening on the inside. And you know that because you can kind of go, I feel happy and sad all at the same time. Is that what it says in this? Happy and hurting, and I feel like I'm healing all at the same time. How can that be possible? How can I really love somebody and also find them very annoying? How can I be joyous and at the same time I want to cry with sorrow? These things, this is how it is inside, isn't it? We have all these different things. And it seems like our capacity to be able to hold the different things all at the same time, it has a lot to do with how we are doing in the spiritual life. Because initially it sort of wrecks your brain. It feels like your head is sort of splitting in two. It's like, how can I hold these two things at the same time? I can't. But with time and with reflection and meditation, of course, I'm going to talk about meditation, you can begin to sort of see them. You know, like initially, why it's difficult is because you're right up against the thoughts. It's like you're in a cinema and you have your nose against the screen and all you can see is what's on the screen. And when you start to meditate, you get a bit of distance from the screen. You pull back a little bit. And then you realize there's two screens and they have two different things going on. And then you realize there's three screens. And they're all different things and all are valid. I'm very upset. I'm very sad. I'm also very happy and joyful at the same time. When you're right up against it, you can only be in one screen or the other. You can't sort of see that there's two. And the further back you get, the more you can see, oh, there's many different parts of me. There's many different parts of me. They all have different needs, different wants, different agendas. And the more I pull back, the more I can see them. And I can maybe give each one what it needs. A little bit for this one, a little bit of kindness, a little bit of listening. This one wants some reassurance and so on. So being able to see that we are all these different parts, but then we're also the container, this overarching presence. And this overarching presence is like the latest version of us. It's the most up-to-date version of us. Some parts might be very old. They might be like from childhood. They need things, you know, so we have to give those what they need, or we try to give those what they need. Other parts are a little bit more contemporary. Other parts are quite deep and spiritual, and they're very like, come on, what are we doing with our lives? This is not what we're here for. Let's get on with this thing. Who cares about the marriage? Who cares about the job? Who cares about the health? This is what we're here for. Let's just, they're the locomotive kind of parts that are just going to push everything forward. And all parts are equal in my experience. You don't get anywhere if you start putting hierarchies on the inside and going, oh, well, the less conscious parts are not as good as the very conscious parts, the parts that know the deeper meaning of why I'm alive and what I'm doing with my life and all that kind of thing. Oh, they're better than the least conscious parts. That just leads to internal conflict, and it just gives my mind something to fight about, and split itself off into separate parts, this part saying one thing, another part saying another thing. Whereas when you get rid of hierarchy on the inside and go, all parts of me need to move forward together in consciousness. All parts. So the very deep, wise parts also need to move forward in consciousness. They're growing too. And equally the very unconscious parts of me, they need to move forward too. Now it's relative, of course, but it all has to move forward together, and each part is as valid as the other part. You can't make one wrong. We all have to, so a deeper part might go, that's it, we've got to move countries. Yes, that's the thing to do. And then this less conscious part of us might be quaking about that, like, oh my God, what, move countries? What am I going to do? Because the frontal part of us is the least conscious part of us. Like the part of me that's talking to you now, that's the least part, that's the least conscious part of me. And yet it's the part that has to make the words and has to, work the camera, talk to the postman, drive the car, pay the car tax, all that stuff. The least conscious part of me, the least resourced part of me has to interface with existence. So I have a lot of compassion for that part of me as well. And I know it's the least conscious part of me. I know it's the part that kind of, look, here's the deep part going, we must move countries. And it's like quaking, how am I going to do that? And it's not a case of you just kind of go, well, the deep part said it, so we just have to do it. It's like, well, okay, I can feel that you're terrified. What can we do so you're not so terrified? What can we do to kind of gently walk ourselves through this? Because it looks like we're going to do it anyway, because the deeper part seems to, know that that's the thing we should do. But I also recognize you're terrified. So it has to work for us all. Let's all move forward together. Because really, like without that kind of loving compassion to all parts of me, we just kind of stagnate and get into this twist in the inside, a kind of conflict of fighting, and we really don't move forward in consciousness. One part might, but the other part is left behind, and all parts have to move forward together. And when you take that approach of like, tell me why you're afraid, let's see what we can do in a loving, compassionate way, then you can all kind of move forward together, and no part is left behind, and no part is suppressed or locked in the attic or anything like that. All parts move forward together, and there's a beautiful kind of harmony on the inside, and a genuine affection develops on the inside for all the different parts of you as you all can move forward together in consciousness and love.